nice, right? Excellent. At the end, you already know what has to be completed.
Eval.
All right, let's get some energy. What has to be completed? You gotta give it a little more life, please. What has to be completed?
There's no reason.
Okay, okay, that's cool. All right, that's cool. What's my name? Yes. I'm so excited that I at least had some contact with each and every person in this room. So I'm really excited to see all of your faces, and I'm happy that you guys came out this evening, especially because outside it's cold, it's not pretty, and I'm just happy that you guys made it here safely. We have a really awesome panel discussion happening tonight with our 4 panelists, and they're gonna kind of provide you with a little bit of information about their process around job shadowing, internships. You guys kind of went through study abroad today, but if we have a little bit of time, they can talk about their experience at the end. We're also gonna talk about volunteerism, job shadowing, research, and I think that's it, right? All right, so my name again is Sheba Gittins, and I am an advisor here, as well as?
I'm James. You know me. I'm the advisor here.
And so the way that we're gonna do this discussion is I really want you guys to have your questions, and just feel free to ask your questions. No question is too silly. We wanna make sure that you all walk away with information that's gonna be relevant to your experience. And they're very open, as you guys can tell, to share their process with you and also provide some key information that's gonna really be supportive. So right now, we're just gonna ask each of our panelists to say their name, their major, and identify whether or not you've had an internship, whether or not you've participated in a volunteer opportunity, job shadowing, research, or study abroad. Okay, and we're gonna make that brief and then go right into questions. Cool? Awesome.
Hi guys, my name is Jimmy Muller. I'm a senior, so I'll be graduating in a couple months, and my major is information science. I have had an internship, I've done some research, I've studied abroad. I've kind of dabbled a little bit in like across the spectrum, so any questions you guys have, just feel free to ask.
Hi, my name is Janelle Kreis. I'm a sophomore. I'm majoring in sociology and urban studies and working on a women's studies certificate. I'm currently in an internship, and I am planning to study abroad this summer. I've been accepted, and I'm currently setting up job shadowing experiences, but I haven't yet had the experience.
I'm Anastasia. I'm a senior, molecular biology and a religious studies minor. I've done volunteering, internship, fellowship, research, job shadowing. If you have a question, I should be able to answer it, especially if it's bio-related. So.
Okay, I'm Jade Richardson. I'm a senior. I'm a Soc major, communication major, and I'm going to do I finished the Women's Studies certificate. I've studied abroad, I've done internships, and I've done volunteering.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
So they've done various things during their college careers, and so to sort of to organize this well, I wanted to start with one topic and then go on to the next one. So first I want to start with is internships, and I want to learn about first, what internship did you do? What was the process in getting them? Because sometimes, we think it seems like a daunting task, what were the different scenarios in which you were able to acquire them, and just, tell us a little bit about it. So whoever wants to speak.
All right, so I had two internships, and I'm in one. The first one was like a short stint with Teach for America, and I actually got that through actually reading the email that my advisor from the social department sent. It was just like a general email that she got, and then she forwarded it to everyone. So read those emails, because you might come across opportunities that other people, they won't read those emails, so you can do that. It ended up being like a huge time conflict, so I stopped doing it. But then I also had another one, which was sports marketing with the Pittsburgh Harlequins, which is like a rugby organization in Pittsburgh. And I found them through FutureLinks. Have anyone been on FutureLinks yet? Yes, okay. I found like a whole bunch of internships on there, and I just went and like emailed all of them my resume, and said, hey, like I'm interested in this. A lot more formal than hey, and I'm interested. And I got an email back, and we set up an interview, and from there I got it. From that internship, I learned that I don't want to do anything nonprofit, so I did learn something from it, and it was fun. But
Cool. Anastasia, did you want to talk a little bit?
Okay, so bio internships are kind of different. They're called fellowships or sometimes like a research scholarship, but the idea is kind of the same. So I ran a HHMI fellowship workshop for 2 weeks, and it was a research program where those selected to be a part of the program after this huge application interview process did a 2-week crash course in molecular biology techniques, and then went on to their individual research labs and did research for a PI that they chose to work with. During the summer, we met for roundtables every few months to present research, like anything that you accomplish in the lab in the time between each roundtable. There were also weekly journal clubs, so we read primary literature and discussed how one should go about reading those. And it's a really good program for anybody who wants to do graduate school in like any bio-related area. And I think the stipend was $5,000, so that was all you did that summer.
Cool, thank you so much. Janelle?
Well, I'm currently in my first internship. I'm a peer advisor for the Arts and Sciences Advising Center in Thackeray Hall. I thought about it because I heard from Sam Jones. You probably met her, another peer advisor. She told me about it a year ago when I was a freshman when she was applying, and she was an intern for them. But she knew it would appeal to me because I really like being a peer mentor. I like talking to students, working with students, like school-related things. So I thought about it briefly, and then I forgot about it. And then in the fall, I got emails from the sociology department, the urban studies department, like they were sending out emails about internships, and that was in it. So I was like, well, maybe I should take a look at this. So I just filled out the application. It was pretty simple. I think there was a letter of recommendation, not sure. So then they emailed me back, and they invited me for an interview. And it was an interview with a panel, but I had already known a lot about it from Sam because she had told me a lot, and then Beth, my advisor, because she works with the advising center a little bit too. So I already had connections through that, and so I ended up getting the position. I really like it, especially now because I'm considering getting a master's in school counseling. So it really directly applies, and I've really been enjoying it.
Thank you, Janelle.
For me, I've had 2 formal internships. I've worked for a startup company. It was actually founded by some Carnegie Mellon students. And last summer, I internshipped at PPG downtown. And they both played hand in hand with each other. I found the internship, I found the startup company on FutureLinks, so definitely use FutureLinks in the future. Just always check it. There'll always be opportunities available, I think. And from working at that, when I interviewed for PPG, which I found out through the career fair, I could then use my experiences from the startup company I worked at in the interview, which I think ultimately helped me land that internship position. But the startup internship position, it was really just like kind of like a basic job, because I was just looking for a job for the summer, so I checked FutureLinks to see, if there's anything available, and I was lucky enough to get that job. But that actually helped me get the second one. So yeah, definitely use FutureLinks. definitely works. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing a lot of is check your emails, read your emails, especially when they come from your particular departments, and also definitely what was consistent across the board was future links. Yeah? Okay, cool.
What is that?
Hmm?
What is future links?
So FutureLinks is the program that the University of Pittsburgh uses, where it essentially connects employers and students together. You can upload your resume, filter out the companies that are looking for jobs or looking for interns, and then find them that way and then apply that way too. They'll contact you or you can contact them.
And if I'm not mistaken, doesn't Future Links have an app?
Also, there's a link for it on the MyPit page on the right side if you scroll down, and I think they do have an app too.
So we have future links, which is one way to find internships. What are some other ways to find internships?
Your advisors when you're in departments.
Your advisors, departments, anything else?
Networking.
Networking?
Excellent, yep.
Networking.
Yes, networking not just with your professors, but also with your peers, which is what was key for Janelle's experience, knowing Sam, who's a peer advisor, who shared her process and her experience and supported her so that she could actually apply and feel comfortable applying, right?
So I got some of how you felt about your internships, but can you express maybe like what did you learn from your internships? Did it like solidify what you wanted to do in your field? Did it change a particular aspect of how you thought about what you wanted to do?
Good question.
If anybody can speak to that.
Well, I'll just talk about the one I'm in now. Because when I did apply, I was just like, okay, this seems interesting. Like, I like being peer mentor, so peer advising is similar. So I just kind of did it. But now that I'm actually into it, I'm seeing more of what goes into the work of advising and kind of how it's similar to school counseling. And I talked to a lot of the advisors about like what they went to grad school for and why they like it. So it's really nice networking with those people, and I like really being involved with Pitt and like what they do behind the scenes, I guess, of administrative work. So it's really interesting, and I actually like found out that I like it a lot more than I thought I would. Like I kind of just did it to do it, but I ended up liking it.
Awesome. Anyone else?
I'll go next. I'm actually in that same peer advising internship with her, and I didn't do it because, like Sam said, oh, you'll be good at it. But I'm going to be looking for a job in a couple of months, and I applied to Drexel for grad school, and they actually have an advising position open there. So I was like, hey, I do peer mentoring, it's kind of the same maybe, but I still didn't know like what advising was. So I took that internship so that I could learn what advising was. So by the end of it, I know whether or not I actually want to apply for this job. So that's why I did it. At my other internships, like even still now, if you ask me what I want to do, I want to be in the sports industry. I don't know what I want to do. So that internship showed me that I didn't want to do nonprofit. And that internship taught me a lot about myself, because he basically said in the interview, you're gonna be doing the work on your own. I was coming up with different things to do, and I would tell him I was gonna do it, and then I just had to get it done. There was no okay, come in, here's your work for today, do that. So that aspect of it, I did but I, want to go a different route. So I found some things in it that I really do like, but some things that I wouldn't want to do.
So you learned that you like working independently, but maybe you would like still kind of having that kind of communal work environment? Yeah, awesome. Anyone else want to speak on that topic before we move on?
Yes, I can speak a little bit. With my one internship at PPG, because my major involves a lot of programming, usually the homeworks and stuff, it's usually individual. Maybe me and one other person at max. But when you work or you have an internship at kind of a larger corporation, there's a lot more communication and logistics that get involved, and I wasn't really used to that, and it was a good experience, not necessarily, the programming experience, yes, but more of I'll also be looking for a job in a couple months, but kind of the environment around working, I guess, professionally at a large corporation. And similarly, working at a startup, the culture is very different. And it's just good to like know the cultures that you're a part of, because if you're going to be working at something or working in a business for multiple years, you have to like the culture. Regardless of the job, you have to like the culture that you're working in.
So it sounds like you're acknowledging that every work environment, every internship has its own particular culture, just like when you're in your different classrooms, that has its own flow and culture. So kind of just recognizing what works best for you. Maybe the nonprofit might be a better fit for you, or a more corporate position might be a better fit for you. But it sounds like you guys kind of got that perspective from doing your internships. Okay, wonderful. And so Anastasia, tell us a little bit about your volunteer experience. You know, where did you volunteer? How did you feel about the work that you were doing, and how it's actually impacting your future, your
Okay.
goals for your future?
So I volunteered down at McGee Women's Hospital. I ultimately want to do genetic counseling, so I volunteered down in the cytogenetics lab. So I did a lot of data entry of patient files. I went through old karyotypes to help the PI with a research project that was going on, and did like lab tech type things, cleaning microscope slides and all that stuff that the lab itself needed. In addition to that, I was able to go to the graduate school's weekly seminars. Their noon seminars where they go over case studies of patients that they recently saw when they were shadowing actual genetic counselors. And that was really advantageous because I can see what to expect if I get into the program here. And the woman who runs the seminars is also the co-director of the program here, so it's networking and rubbing elbows with the right people. But working in the volunteering was real nice, and I'm pretty sure a nice perk for all the places that you volunteer, you get a meal ticket so you don't have to worry about eating that day.
Maybe not all.
Not all places.
Not all places, but that's something
Most
that.
UPMCs do though.
Right. Cool. So can you tell us, how did you even hear about this volunteer opportunity, and why did you even think it was something that you wanted to do?
Well, I had to do it. It's a requirement
Okay.
for what I want to go into, which is something you should also look into this year, because a lot of programs for like pre-med, you have to have so many months under your belt of volunteer work before they even look at your application. So get on that. And I just Googled volunteer opportunities, and I applied to Children's Hospital, I applied to McGee Women's Hospital, I applied to regular Presby. There's a lot of stuff that you have to do for that. Like you have to get a TB test and you have to get clearances. So it takes about a month for you to get processed to be able to volunteer, but once you do that, you're pretty much set. But I just Googled because I knew I had to do it.
Cool. Do you guys know of any other place that you can find information on volunteering? Yep.
Well, I found all of my volunteer through the collegiate YMCA, and I was a tutor for like at-risk kids at UPrep. That was fun. That really didn't have anything to do with like what I want to do, but I like kids, and I mean, most of them were like my age too at the time, because I was like 17 or 18, and they were like seniors in high school. But I did it to just kind of get that good feeling out of it, because there's a lot of people who like were on the verge of not being able to graduate, and now like I see them throughout my everyday life, and they're like, I never thought about getting a 3.0 in high school like until you came and tutored me. So, and I play basketball with them now, so like I just did it for that reasoning. So the collegiate YMCA, they have volunteer opportunities, and then there's a volunteer office, isn't there? The Service Volunteer Outreach or something, SVO.
It's on the Bellevue.
Yeah. So you can just Google that, Pitt SVO, I believe.
Any questions for our panelists on volunteering and their experience? Awesome. Job shadowing. Anastasia, take it away.
Okay, so like I said, I want to do genetic counseling, and another requirement to do genetic counseling is you need to shadow genetic counselors. That way they know what you're getting yourself into, which is the point of job shadowing. So I shadowed 3 or 4 genetic counselors. 2 or 3 were over at McGee Women's Hospital, because that's a women's hospital, and genetic counseling that I want to get into is prenatal. So I shadowed over at their prenatal screening area. I also shadowed over at the Hemophilia Institute down in South Oakland. I found out about them through networking pretty much. So I Googled for the McGee Women's Hospital job shadowing and found the coordinator for job shadowing. I contacted her via email, and she set me up with the first one that I shadowed. That woman set me up with another woman in the genetics department over there, and I shadowed her. And the head of the genetic counseling department over here got me in touch with the Hemophilia Institute woman. So when it comes to job shadowing, it's just really dependent upon what area you're going into to then figure out what way is best to communicate and get a hold of these people. I know a lot of people just straight up email the person they want to shadow and they set up that appointment with them. Other people, it's like my experience where you have to go through a coordinator and they set you up with whoever's available at that time. For some programs, it's harder during certain months because at that time graduate students are also shadowing, or the med students are shadowing their doctor. Like, you have to shadow certain doctors for med school and all that stuff. So you're also competing with those people who have priority over you. So you kind of just need to keep calling, you need to keep emailing, you need to stay on top of them because they will forget about you, unfortunately. They have a lot of stuff that they need to do. So a lot of what job shadowing is you being on top of your game to get what you need and maintaining those connections that you make because they will help you make more connections.
So you're saying consistency, consistent networking. It sounds like you're saying a lot of putting in your application, putting in those phone calls, and actually putting in the time so that you can get the information that you need. Is that correct?
Yes, and make sure you have time to set aside to shadow because it's not just a couple of hours, it's an entire day.
Excellent, excellent, thank you. Let's go a little bit towards the research side. Anyone? Yeah, sure, James has a question.
I just want to jump in quick. Who plans on doing an internship? Like, everybody's planning on it. Who plans on doing a bunch of volunteering? Anybody really into volunteering? Job shadow? That interests anybody? Just curious to see how information resonated with it.
And one of the things that I do want to speak on just really briefly is in regards to internships, job shadowing, and volunteer. One of the things that I think Anastasia said that I want to reiterate is sometimes you can just go directly to that person. So for example, I volunteered at 10,000 Villages, and the reason that that happened was because I went into the store and I had a great experience, found out that they were a nonprofit, found out where their materials were coming from, who they were supporting, and they were very knowledgeable about what they were doing and how they were impacting the lives of others. And so for myself, I said, wow, this is pretty awesome. Do you have any opportunities for volunteering? Okay, and they said, yes, fill out this application. So maybe if you see an opportunity with a professor who's doing research and that's in your area of interest, you can talk to that professor and ask them, can I volunteer with you maybe once a week for a month? Or can I shadow you maybe once a week for a month? Whatever it is, but you guys can just go out and ask. And what's the worst they can say? No. And what's the best? And what's the medium? I'm not available, but I can connect you, just like Anastasia got different connections. So networking, speaking up for yourselves is super, super important. And like we discussed in class, having your resume ready, having your cover letters ready, going to Career Development Center, Career Development and Service Center, right? Going there to get your resume reviewed, doing the mini mock interviews, all of that is gonna super, super support you guys in this process of getting those opportunities. Yeah? Safe bet? Cool. So now we're gonna go to research, and I want Jimmy to kind of talk a little bit about his research experience.
Yeah, so about 2 summers ago, or 2 years ago, I was fortunate enough to get a research position. I was actually through the information science building. Who knows where that building is, by the way?
I just found out.
So, does anyone know where Ruskin Hall is? So it's the building behind Ruskin Hall. Yeah, it's kind of out of the way, so I'm not super surprised that a lot of people don't know where it is, but it was a program through that, and I got to work on a year-long research paper, topic of my choosing. It just had to do something with information science, and information science is really broad. It's pretty much just like how technology impacts people and stuff like that. And just on a side note, if you guys want more information on that program, just come talk to me afterward, because it'll be a great opportunity for you guys if you guys actually want research experience. And for me, I worked in a team of 3 other people, and they all went to different universities in the US. And so it was a month-long research program, and then after that we worked on it for a year, and then came back a year later and presented our research. And in doing this, I learned a lot, not only about research, but also kind of like group dynamics and stuff like that, what it taught me is that research is something that, I've always wanted. Not only does it look good on a resume, but it's something you don't really know if you want to do something until you try it out. So it's something I wanted to try out. And the thing I realized is you need to be really passionate about research, and just like in general, if you want to go to grad school, if you want to do a lot of that, you have to be passionate in research. And with group dynamics, it's not bad, but especially because I was working with a lot of people that are also undergrad too, we kind of had to work out things throughout the year, just because people have different academic obligations, people are involved in different organizations, and it taught me a lot about the research process, there's a lot of other logistical things in working out other than the research itself, which was really nice to know. But overall, it was a really great experience. And yeah, it just taught me a lot about the research itself and kind of the logistics around it.
Cool. I do want to know from you guys, we talked a little bit about job shadowing, internships, we talked about research and volunteering, but I want to know some real talk. What were some of your challenges and what were some of your success stories? How did it impact the way that you saw yourself, as well as impact how you see your future career? And anyone, Anastasia looks like she's ready for this.
I'm ready for
Go,
this one.
you take this one, Anastasia.
Okay. I did research since freshman year over at the Biological Sciences Department in Craig Peebles' lab. If any of you want help getting research, honestly, I am the go-to in SSS for biological research because I worked in the women's lab who's in charge of undergraduate research. So, if you need to do research, come to me. Anyway, I've done research for the entire time I've been here, and you find out a lot about the politics behind research. You might have noticed there is a whole lot of politics behind what's going on over there. And so it's real important for you to try out different places before you settle down in the lab. You need to figure out what's best for you, what dynamic works best for you, because not every lab is the same. Certain